So some other notes that we're going to take on this specific topic. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a division here. But just in terms of evaluating functions. So something that we most certainly do pretty much the whole class for Algebra 2 in different shapes and forms. But just to get an understanding of what it means to evaluate a function. What it means is that we're going to find an output that corresponds with the given input. Finding the output for a corresponding input. There we go. So for an example, situationally here, if I were to say to find f of 3, what that means is that we're trying to figure out the output for that input of 3. So in that situation, we would find the output when the input is 3. Now we know when we're talking about a coordinate, in this situation, we would usually think to ourselves that the output would be y and our input would be x. So in terms of what we're doing with that, we would anticipate that 3 would be our input and our output would be whatever it is that we find. And we could do that in many ways. We've already taken a look at some tables, some graphs, and we're going to keep on doing that as well. So in order to evaluate a function, we would be given an input. We have to figure out the output for it. In terms of interpreting that function notation, just a little bit of a note on that as well. The big key for these problems is we're going to get a lot of algebra, of course, and graphs and tables, but sometimes we're going to have situationally application type problems with this. So in terms of interpreting function notation, we're going to have to make sure that we just understand what things mean in the context of the problem. So we talked about in previous situations here, understanding the speed and the braking distance. That's the input, that's the output. So for all of these problems here, we got to read the questions really carefully. We know that our input is generally speaking our x. So a lot of the times in our class, we're going to see questions that involve time. A lot of the time is the input and whatever comes from it is the output. But there's just got to be a focus on that situation when we read different application problems, and we can focus on the wording on that.